Hi there, Warriors, and welcome to the new weekend roundup. And just like last week, there's plenty to discuss because Uruguayans all over the world have been doing well. But there's only one place to start, and that's in Madrid. On Saturday, I was unfortunately working. Um, Álvaro Rodríguez made his home debut for Madrid, and he came on and immediately scored. I think it was 8 minutes until he scored his goal. A great header from a corner. Minutes before, it was Jose Maria Jimenez who put Atletico in the lead. But then it was his countryman, his compatriot, much younger, 18-year-old Alvaro Rodriguez, who equalized the score. And that would be the end score as well, 1-1. But what a moment. I mean, he's already made two appearances, one in the Copa del Rey and one in La Liga against Osasuna a few weeks ago, where he gave an assist. So it was already some huge excitement around this lad. For us, obviously, as Uruguay fans, we've seen him for the under-20 team, so we know what he's about. But for Madrid fans, it's a youngster from the academy, and as we know, in a club like Madrid, there's not a lot of space for these type of players. But Álvaro Rodriguez has grabbed his opportunity and scored in such a big game. You know, it's not a game where he comes on when Madrid is leading 4-0 and he can blend in, do something nice or show his qualities. No, it's the biggest game or one of the biggest games of the season for Madrid. And fair play to Carlo Ancelotti, who gives him a chance to contribute. And unbelievable, unbelievable. And the production line for Uruguay is going and going. It's the strikers coming out of Uruguay at this moment in time. I mean, we have to see where it ends up, where they will end up. The career is young from Alvaro Rodriguez. Darwin also still 23. But if you look at the quantity of strikers coming through with Alvaro, with Darwin Nunez, with Satriano, with Arezzo, with even Thiago Borbas, who's currently in Brazil, and many others, it's so exciting to follow. And the most exciting to follow at the moment for me is certainly Alvaro because he's so young and he's got a quite a nice backstory. Born to a Uruguayan ex-footballer, Coquito Rodriguez, played for Peñarol, even won the Libertadores with Peñarol, played for Uruguay national team, and his father played in Spain. And because of this, he grew up in Spain, and he played for the academy of Girona. And when he was, I think it was 15, 14, Real Madrid scooped him up and signed Alvaro Rodriguez. And he's been doing well in the academy under the guidance of Raúl in the last year at the Real Madrid Castilla team, the second team. And his breakthrough now in 2023, because the Uruguay Under-20 tournament, where he scored 5 goals in 7 games, his debut, then his assist against Osasuna, and now the goal against Atletico Madrid. It's been a mad year for him. It's 2 months old, and he's already gotten on the radar and as one of the next big talents in Uruguayan football. And I mean, we would almost forget that Federico Valverde was even playing for Madrid, and that's the thing. He also played a really good game. I wasn't able to watch the game live, but I've watched it. I think it was yesterday. I watched it, and Valverde played a really good game, as he's now been doing again. Tough spell for him after the World Cup in a tournament where also he didn't reach his highest level. But now after the Club World Cup, where he scored 3 goals, then the goal against Osasuna, which also was a big one, it seems like he's getting back to his best. I mean, he can still do better for sure, but the performance at Anfield as well, now again in the Madrid derby, we are seeing Valverde in a level that we like to see, and not even standing out in the attacking part of the game, because he's playing in midfield now for the last 2 games. He played again in midfield against Liverpool and against Atletico, which is obviously where he belongs. The fact that he comes to the right is because he can do a job anywhere basically, but also because Madrid has got such an amazing depth in the midfield, and even with Daniel Ceballos breaking, or not breaking through, but having a really brilliant, something like a renaissance season. It's easy, or it's convenient for Ancelotti to put him out on the right at times, because he also does a good job there. But when he gets into the midfield, you see how versatile, how a jack of all trades, how complete Valverde is as a midfielder. And yeah, I mean, we like to see him, or I like to see him in the midfield, and it's obviously where he's going to end up for Madrid in the long term. And yeah, so like I mentioned it briefly, but Jose Maria Gimenez also scored, and it was his first goal of the season. It was a great header, with like Álvaro Rodríguez, a big leap, because we know Josema, like many others, but Josema trains on this jump, and it's a big quality of his. But the truth is that he hasn't scored a lot of headers in the last, I think, 2 or 3 seasons, because for a player not of his height, because he's not the biggest, but a player with his ability to jump, his ability for timing, and also his heading ability, you would aim for, well, I think 4 or 5 goals a season, because that's what a player he like him is capable of. But okay, it hasn't happened in the last few seasons. Now he's got his first goal, and it was a big goal, and it seemed like it would be the goal that would win Atletico the Madrid derby, which would be a big win for them, but it wasn't to be, because Álvaro struck, and it's not the first time he's gonna strike in Spanish football. That's for sure. He's the youngest Uruguayan ever to score in La Liga. I think Julio Cesar Benitez for Valladolid, was the one he takes the record from, and also in the same list as under 20 players, so players of 18, 19, but who scored under the age of 20 were Ruben Sosa, Jose Maria Gimenez, and also Matias Oliveira. Or Oliveira was 20. I'm sorry, Oliveira was 20. But yeah, I mean, this is the type of company he's in, and it's not a bad company. But Álvaro, 18 years of age, first goal, and we are gonna find out how his season is gonna unfold. Because although this is a big moment and it carries a lot of weight because of the goal he scored in the game he scored it in, it still remains the case that, it still remains to be seen if he's gonna get a lot of minutes, because Karim Benzema is still, I would say, on top of his game. I mean, obviously, maybe his level has dropped a little bit from last season, but he's gonna play every game anyway, and so he will probably play a lot for the Castilla team this season still, and we will see how it goes next season. Ancelotti said we are counting on him for the first team, and although I love to hear this, I mean, really do, if Benzema stays on, I'm not sure when Enrique is coming, the Brazilian striker, but if Benzema stays on, which he will, and play basically every game, I would probably prefer Álvaro Rodríguez to go out on loan to get his week in, week out playing time, playing 90 minutes. I would prefer this, to be honest. But yeah, I mean, it's just my opinion, and we don't know what's gonna happen. So let's just enjoy this moment, because it's always great to see Uruguayans do well. For me, although maybe you personally are a fan of Madrid or Barcelona or Atletico, for me it's not like this. I follow Uruguayans, so if they score, there's no hard feelings whether they score against this team or that team. It doesn't matter for me, because I'm all about Uruguayans doing well. That's it. So yeah. Okay, thanks by the way for the people that are here. I appreciate it a lot. Every Monday weekend roundup, and I appreciate anybody who stops by and spends this time with me to talk about let's have it the best, the most glorious footballing country in the world. Okay, Rodrigo Silva, hi there, Rodrigo. He says we should give chances to young players since the moment they prove to be ready, either in clubs or national team. Yeah, for sure. I believe you should not rush it, but when the opportunity arises and when a player shows that he's capable, and also when the circumstances in the national team is like it is right now, it's quite low, people have lost credit, and it might be time for some people to be dropped out and to give some others a chance. For sure, you have to give this opportunity. And the point you make, either in clubs or national team, you're so right. I mean, it brings me on to the next player I want to discuss. It's hard for sometimes young players, even in Uruguayan football, but mostly when Uruguayans move to Italian football, Spanish football, or whatever European country, it's hard sometimes for these young players, even though they've come for quite a few million euros. it's hard for them to get chances. I mean, Agustin Alvarez Martinez is the prime example at the moment. He's playing for Sassuolo, but he's not playing basically. He was signed for, it was something like 10 or 11 million. And I think he's made 2 starts. I'm going to check it out, but I think he's made 2 starts. We can, by the way, have a look together on here. 1 second. We can have a look. Agustin Alvarez Martinez. Oh, that's not the one. There we go. So here's the thing. So he's made 1 start, played 17 games, but as you see, 18 minutes a game, which, I mean, come on. Scored 1 goal, which was a great header, by the way, away to Torino. It was a really nice goal, a big goal as well. It provided Sassuolo with the 3 points, which is, well, they haven't won a lot of points this season, to be honest. And even though they are not doing so well, as you can see with these results, they are not giving the opportunities to Alvarez Martinez. They are 15th, and this is a team which I'm pretty sure, I'm going to check it now to be sure, but I'm pretty sure that last season they finished in a better position. And I mean, that can happen obviously, but you would like to see a team that is not doing so well, that is doing below maybe their standards, because as you can see, 11th, because in the last few seasons they were able to be in the mid-table, and now they are drifting away to the relegation zone, which is not good, obviously. So to see this, I will move it. It frustrates me to not see him get minutes. And Pelistri is another example, obviously. I think Brian Rodríguez went to Almeria a few years ago or 2 years ago. He didn't really got any confidence. And sometimes you can argue, yeah, maybe a player doesn't prove it in training, or maybe the manager is right. And sometimes you are right. Sometimes that is the case. But there's also another side to the coin, where a manager, even though it's not an easy situation, he gives a player a run of games, a run of games, not 2 cameo appearances, not 1 start and then 3 times from the bench. No, he gives him a run of games of 4 or 5 games from the start, 90 minutes or maybe 80 minutes, and show me what you got. Then you can really see what a player is up to. Then you can fairly judge a player. You cannot judge a player on, like you saw, 17 appearances, of which 80 minutes is the average amount of playing minutes, and mostly he comes on with 10 minutes to go, and Sassuolo are chasing a game. That's not when you can really judge a player. And the example I want to make is Joaquin Sosa. He is a player that I have to add the stream, by the way, sorry. Who's a player who also came from Uruguay this summer or winter, the South American winter, European summer, who's playing for Bologna, who are currently, I have to switch back to 22, 23. We're currently 7th. And the funny thing is, and not the funny, the good thing is that the commendable thing, or I'm not sure how to say it, but the thing which is, for me, is awesome to see, is that Joaquin Sosa got an opportunity in this game when Lazio faced Bologna. And as you see, he plays here, and he made a mistake which led to the goal for Lazio. And this was the only goal of the game. And Lazio knocked Bologna out. Thiago Motta, even though this happened, and Sosa made the mistake which costed Bologna the Coppa Italia, they were maybe not going to win it, but anyway, they were eliminated because of it. Even though this happened, he gave Joaquin Sosa a run of games, and he played, I think it was from this game, Fiorentina, the first game that he played from the start, and he went on to play. These layouts are not really, sorry, there we are. Okay. Got the opportunity to play here, and has played for the last 4 games in a row. And in these 4 games, Bologna have picked up 9 of the 12 points, and Sosa has played well. And after the game, I remember, because I saw the quotes back then, after the game when Bologna played against Lazio, Motta came out and he said, yeah, it's true that Sosa made a mistake, but I like the way he played. I like the way that he dares to play forward, that he tries to not pass sideways and to search the attack, to initiate something from the back. And he saw this and he gave him a chance, a run of games. And Jorge Sosa has been proving him right, has been getting the opportunity and has proved Mota right. And that's what we want to see, basically. And I mean, maybe it's a bit easy to say this at the back of these games, but I think Agustin Alvarez Martinez, when he gets an opportunity, a run of games, I think he could do well, because I don't see him as a player that is much worse of the current players that are playing for Sassuolo. But that's just my opinion. So yeah, but yeah, Jorge Sosa is someone 21 years of age, center back. I mean, played in Uruguay for River Plate Montevideo mainly, but he was of Nacional, and Nacional sold him in a couple of months ago. Player that can play on left back, center back. Is a really interesting prospect, one of many defensive prospects. And I think a little bit later on in the stream, we are going to name these defensive prospects, the central defenders, which are interesting for the national team. But there are so many that there will only be probably 3 or 4 that are candidates for the national team. And that says a lot about the depth Uruguay currently have in this position. George Trumillo, hi George, thank you for being here, man. Does Pelistri get a winner's medal from the Carabao Cup? Man, you win. At least that's a consolation after they beat my Newcastle. I think he does, yeah, because he played, I think it is, he played 2 or 3 games, through 2 or 3 appearances in the competition. I know that I think it used to be the case that in Premier League you have to play at least 5 games to get a winner's medal. I'm not sure if that's still the case, but I'm also not sure if any regulations like this count for the League Cup or the Carabao Cup. But I saw him with a trophy. I saw the picture with the trophy. He was not in the matchday squad, which, I mean, that's a shame. But I think he gets a winner medal. Yeah, I hope so, really, because that will be a shame for him. Even though it's not as a main figure in the team, it would be nice for him to get his first piece of silverware in Europe. Yeah, for sure. Hi, Danny. So I will just look it up now. So you're saying I just sent a list of 26 players on Twitter. I would like to see a march, and I wanted to get your touch and possibly a like. That's all right for sure, man. I think I saw you mention me, and now I'm gonna have a look at it now. So Muslera Rochette, the Arwa Barena, who by the way gave an assist while playing for Aruca, the goalkeeper we're talking about. He gave an assist, a long ball, and I mean it was a long ball, and the striker did really well. So maybe a bit of a lucky assist, but still he got an assist, and he does well in Portuguese football. He gets quite frequently, he gets a clean sheet, makes some decent saves. He's a good shot stopper, and yeah, to have him on this list, I think he's 25 years of age. For me, it's a much better player to have on than, for example, Sebastian Sosa, who is never ever gonna be the first goalkeeper of Uruguay, or Martin Campaña. I like Martin Campaña, I liked him, but it's no point in calling these type of goalkeepers to the national team because there's no long-term prospect of him or of any of these making it as the number one. The Arua Barena or Israel or Santiago Mele, who I'm okay, but Santiago Mele is an okay goalkeeper, but I don't think he also has a long-term prospect as a national team goalkeeper. But Arua Barena, I cannot pronounce it, and Israel, for example, these are players that we should look at. And yeah, I think it's a good choice from you. The defense: Santiago Bueno, Matias Oliveira, Ronald Arajo, Guillermo Varela, Mateo Ponte, Matias Fina, Sebastian Coates as captain. Okay, you're going big here, and Joaquin Sosa. Okay, also interesting. I mean, there's a case to be made for some of them for sure. Josema out, that's controversial for sure. But I mean, hopefully we are getting some surprise call-ups because we need it. It would be really good. Then in midfield, Manuel Ugarte, Fabricio Diaz, Rodrigo Salazar, George de Arrascaeta, Lucas Torreira, Federico Valverde, Mauro Arambari, and Emiliano Martinez. Also, okay. I mean, that is an interesting midfield for sure. I'm not sure if I agree with everyone, but it's a good list overall so far for me. Luciano Rodriguez, I'm going on to the strikers. Luciano Rodriguez, Darwin Nunez, Facundo Pelistri, Maxi Gomez, Brian Ocampo, Alfaro Rodriguez, and Facundo Torres. Okay. Um, I mean, I'm not gonna dissect the complete list. I like the list overall. There are some decisions or some players I would swap. For example, I wouldn't call up Maxi Gomez. I think it's pointless to have him there. I mean, I love his rise in Europe. I love seeing it. I watched basically every game from Celta in these two seasons he played there, and then to Valencia. I was so excited with his move, and everything went south basically. And I think, I mean, it's time to move on to other players who have maybe a higher ceiling or maybe live up to their potential. So I wouldn't pick Maxi Gomez anymore. But Alvaro Rodriguez, I mean, he is obviously the hot story at the moment, and it would, I mean, I wouldn't be against it. I would still pick Luis Suarez because I think he's gonna be there, and also because I want him to be there because I think he can still do a job. I wouldn't like to see him as the main star of the team anymore. Not I don't want this, and I think he realizes himself that this is not going to be the case. But I would look to see him. I would like to have him there. I'm sorry. So yeah, and the midfield, I think Martinez. I think he's done well in Norway there or in Denmark. I mean, is he ready for the national team or is he national team material? I think it's really hard. And probably the best way to find out is to call him up and give him a try. So yeah, maybe that's a good thing to do. Arambari, I like him, but I think it's also a player like Fernando Gorarian, who is currently at Tigres. It's a player, is a good player, but is he really gonna be? Is he really gonna be there? Is he really gonna break through? And obviously you need bench players, you need squad depth. But I think at the moment there might be better choices who are a bit younger with a bit of a higher ceiling than Arambari at the moment. Yeah, and then the defense. Yeah, I mean, I would pick Jose Jimenez for sure if he's not injured, obviously. And I like Mateo Ponte. Mateo Ponte. I think it's a really good decision to call him up because right back is a problem position for Uruguay. You know, I would argue probably one of the only positions where we don't have a player who I really trust in his position. I think Varela is a decent right back for sure, but I'm not sold on him. I'm not convinced. I think Damian is. I love Damian Suarez, but he's 33 years now, maybe even 34 years of age. It's a shame, and it's obviously a scandal that he's not been called up during his career earlier on when he played in La Liga as a starter for Getafe or for Elche. But that's the past, and for the present, I think Mateo Ponte is currently the best bet for the future. So that I would like that, yeah. But yeah, it's a good list, man, Danny, and I surely will like it. And I mean, I will react on it on Twitter later as well. So thank you, man, and thank you for the support. By the way, always on Twitter. Really appreciate it, man. Okay, I didn't know that. So then he says I only put Maxi Gomez and Fina because apparently 15 players from the World Cup squad will be in March. I briefly saw this pop up on my timeline today. If that's true, then okay, then fair enough. I really understand what you're saying then. Okay. I would put Satriano over Gomez and Piqueras over Fina if this regulation wasn't the case. Okay. Yeah. I mean, I probably would as well. Although Satriano, I mean, his loan spell at Empoli has not gone that well, to be honest. But yeah, he still is a player with good potential for me. Hi there, Lisa. Hi, Lisa. Good to see you here. Excuse me if you have covered this on Twitter, but why is Marcelo Broly managing Uruguay for the March friendlies? What did AOF say about it, and what do you think is the truth? I think there's not been a lot of communication from the AOF at the moment, and even if there is, it's not that handy or not that helpful, I would say. The truth, I mean, that's the thing. We don't know what the truth is at the moment. That's I think nobody knows. But it seems, according to the major reports or major media outlets in Uruguay, that it's kind of a fact or a formality that Marcelo Broly is taking over as an interim manager in March. And yeah, I think that's just, yeah, it's in a solution for now, because still there's chaos in the ROF with the presidential elections. And yeah, they still haven't resolved the situation of the manager. It's a minor thing, by the way. I mean, it's not that big. But no, I mean, they keep dragging it on, and it's really annoying, but it's the way it is. Daniel says, I thought Jose Jimenez was suspended. You are absolutely right. I forgot that. Yeah. So I think it's 4 games. Yeah. No. So that's true. Yeah. He is not eligible. So yeah, that's a shame, by the way, but it's the way it is. Okay. So what I want to hear from you is, who was your standout Uruguayan this weekend? And maybe there's an obvious choice with Álvaro Rodríguez, but you can also talk to me about another player, a performance you liked, or a story you liked. For example, Salazar in Germany for Schalke, who gave an assist in a big win for them against Stuttgart. They're battling against relegation. Salazar has come back in the last few games, and he has helped them, well, get that fire back, basically. And he gave an assist in a 2-0 win. And yeah, big result for Schalke. So yeah, please let me know what was a performance, or maybe a team in Uruguay, or maybe a team elsewhere, whatever. What did you like about this weekend? And let's talk about it. I'm all ears. So yeah, in the meanwhile, I will switch to something else, to the transfer market, which is a really good website. And I wanted, oh no, not this. So I wanted to zoom in on the MLS, because MLS, okay, this is not the one. MLS started this weekend, and Facundo Torres, after a really good season in 2022, where he was nominated for the Player of the Year, one of many, by the way, but didn't win it. But that's okay. I think he's got something like 20 or 22 goal and assist, so that's really good. Sorry, something I want to look up is the. Yes, there we are. I want to have an overview of the Uruguayan players that are currently in the MLS, to really have a look at the upcoming season. So Facundo Torres scored a goal, the penalty for Orlando City, which won them the game. And I mean, this is a league which has Uruguayans in recent times, has had Uruguayans that are doing well. We can talk about Diego Rossi, who obviously won the Golden Boot. Brian Rodríguez was there. Wasn't the best period, but he was there. I mean, Nicolas Lodeiro, who's been there for a while, and he's won, I think it's 2 MLS titles. I think it's the Gold Cup. That's the Gold. No, it's not the Gold Cup. MLS Cup. That's it. So that's a big player there. Mauricio Pereira as well, and even Martin Cáceres. So just have a little brief overview of who is currently there. And it's in Dutch, as you can see, because I'm a Dutchman, and yeah, that's it. So, but that's interesting to see, and I would do the same for the Liga next, so the Mexican League, which has already been underway for a few weeks now. So I probably should have done this before. Oh, sorry. So yeah, okay, there we are. With 31 players, that's a lot, by the way. So after Argentina, the country with the most players, or after Mexico and Argentina, obviously the country with the most players in the Liga Mix. And the obvious names at the moment: Leonardo Fernandez, Jonathan Rodriguez, Maximiliano Araujo, who was in the preliminary list of the World Cup, so that's also a big one. And yeah, Sebastian Cáceres played in a friendly against Ooh, it was Iran, right? It was Iran uh, before the World Cup. So yeah, uh, it's a nice list, and these players we obviously are all following. And Jonathan Rodríguez, for example, scored on the weekend, as did Brian Lozano, 2 goals, 2 brilliant goals, by the way. So that's nice to follow. Yeah. Okay. Jorge Cepero, hi there, Jorge. Good to see you, man. Hey, David. Hope you're doing well. Thank you, man. I'm doing okay. Hope you're doing well as well. Despite how bad the World Cup went for Uruguay, I'm quite optimistic about the future because of all the talent there is. The 2026 squad might be the most talented. Yeah, I mean, I completely echo these thoughts because, yeah, I mean, the World Cup was a catastrophe. Something we expected so much from, and little. I mean, we delivered nothing basically, or they delivered nothing. I mean, but yeah, but like you say, I also am optimistic about the future because it's clear to see that, and I've said this before, the quantity of talent at the moment that Uruguay is producing is better than it's been in my lifetime, better than it ever been in my lifetime. Are we going to replicate another Luis Suarez? I don't think so. No, but overall, in depth, the talent is really is big. It's I mean, if I think if I did this account, this Twitter account I'm doing at UruguayNheroes, if I did this 10 years ago, I mean, I would have loved it, but there would be so many less players to follow in Europe because the amount of players that are currently in Europe compared to 10 years ago, it's a huge difference, and that's also because obviously, um, yeah, football football has become, I wouldn't say bigger. Obviously, it's become bigger, but it's become more visible for everyone basically. So the talents in Uruguay or in Brazil or in Argentina, they are getting scouted earlier than it's ever been, because obviously when, for example, Chelsea think there's a 17-year-old or 16-year-old they like, they are thinking, yeah, we can maybe keep him on the radar, but then someone else scoops him up. So Chelsea or Real Madrid or Brighton and Hove Albion, whoever comes in for a 16-year-old with a crazy amount of money. So this means that so many more players are getting bought to Europe, but also it's also the case that Uruguay got a really good production line at the moment. There's always been a good production line with quality players, but never with the quantity as it is right now, and that's really great to see. So I'm also optimistic about the future. It's going to be interesting to see how it unfolds. I mean, we have so much to look forward to, but we are kind of lost at the moment when it comes to national team because we don't know about any structure. We don't know about the manager, we don't know about the upcoming list, we don't know, and we also don't know how the team is going to shape. We are currently in a transition, and the transition hasn't even started yet. Because for me, there's no way that Alonso can continue. So I'm in my mind, I'm thinking about a transition with a new manager coming in, and hopefully the transition from the older guard, which was already going on, obviously, but the phasing out of them, all of them, and literally the new players coming through. This transition we are going to witness in the upcoming years, and that's going to be exciting to follow for sure. Danny F says the performances of Jorge Sosa versus Inter and Schalke and Salazar for Schalke went under the radar with Álvaro scoring. Yes, I agree completely, man. I really do. And these are also, I mean, both of them made your 26-man list, and probably rightly so, because these are players that are doing well in the last few weeks. Obviously, Salazar was out injured. But it's good to see him back now, and he's an interesting option for Uruguay for sure, because we don't have a lot of players like him. Obviously, we have a lot of good midfielders, but I wouldn't say he's similar to Valverde or Bentancur. He's more attack minded, I think, but he's quite dynamic and he's quite industrious. It's not like it's not like he's a number 10 who just, how would you say, who plays like it's a Sunday morning, who wants to have some nice touches, wants to play the game without leaving footprints, basically. He's stuck in. He gets stuck in. I think he's quite of this old style Uruguayan forward. I mean, I would never compare, but when I see him play, he has the physique or the tendency to get stuck in, like for example, Ruben Sosa had for a little bit. And like I said, the qualities are not comparable, but he's a really, really uh, exciting player. Yeah, for sure. Jorge Cepero says it makes me sad to think Palistri may never reach his potential by staying at Manchester United, as if it as if there weren't enough reasons already for us to dislike Man U. Yeah, no, I think you're right. I think he's not gonna reach his potential at United, and but it's okay for me. That's no problem. But the only problem for me is that he still is there, and he should have gone in this transfer window or in the last one in January, and he didn't. That's a shame because that was an opportunity for him to go out and play. And I'm not sure if it was his manager or his management if, who advised him, or it was really his wish or United's wish. But for me, the best for everyone was for him to go out. It was the best for United because they didn't need him there. It's not like he's been called upon a lot now, because obviously they have more attacking options, which apparently Ten Hag prefers. And I mean, all up to him, obviously. I mean, I wouldn't. I'm not mad at Ten Hag for not giving him opportunities. I might sometimes come up with a tweet to criticizing Ten Hag, but I mean, he's got a lot of attacking options, and to not play Palistri, it's not a crime. It's a young player who still has to prove himself. But my frustration is that he hasn't gone already. He hasn't. He didn't go out on loan or even move away. Um, but yeah, hopefully in the summer or in June, July, or August, this will be the case. Will be the best for everyone. Danny F says, looking at the options Uruguay have in the midfield, we don't have a lot of under 23 options in Europe. I hope Fabricio Diaz and Ignacio Sosa get moved to Europe. Well, no, not as much as the center backs. No, that's true. But obviously Ugarte is there, which is a big one. It's a star. But Fabricio Diaz and Ignacio Sosa, these are two really interesting players. And Diaz for sure I think is ahead in his development. But they will be making moves to Europe. I've got no doubt. So yeah, that's great to see. And no, I mean, under 23 options, there could be more, and there might be more still. But Valverde is 24, Bentancur is 25. And these are our leaders at the moment. So that's quite promising. Or that's not promising. That's just, makes me happy, to be honest. Underdog says, hello, David. Good to see you, brother. Hello, man. Good to see you as well. Nice to see you here. Let's have a look. Since the under 20 coach will coach these next games, it will be nice to see him call up some if he starts from the tournament like Toro, Lucho, Rodríguez, Diaz. Yeah, I mean, I think Danny said similar, and probably also someone else also said something similar. Rodrigo Silva as well. And yeah, that's the case. I mean, come on, this is the moment. This is the moment when you should phase out some players who have proven to be not sufficient for the Uruguay national team. So I wouldn't throw them all in, but certainly in areas where Uruguay are struggling a little bit, like for example the right back spot, Mateo Ponte, maybe Maxi Gomez, who I believe his time is over for the national team. Why not call up someone like Álvaro Rodríguez or even Lucho Rodríguez? Fabricio Diaz is someone you can bring on. He's already been there once, didn't play, but he trained with the senior national team. I think it was one of the last few qualifiers, last set of qualifiers. So yeah, I'm all for that, man. So I'm completely with you, yeah, for sure. So Jorge Cepero says Alvaro won't play the under 20 World Cup. Madrid aren't going to let him leave, I think. I think they will. Yeah, I really do think they will, because they also see it. I mean, I remember when Federico Valverde went there, and I think a club like Madrid certainly do not count on him as a starter, and also I think although this moment last weekend was brilliant, I don't see that Álvaro is gonna make a lot of minutes in the upcoming weeks, because Benzema is a player, is a striker. If he's fit, he plays 90 minutes. That's it. I know he recently had an injury, and that's why there was an opportunity for some others. But overall, he's a player that plays 90 minutes. And Alvaro is certainly is a player that you can bring on if you're going in the last 10, 50 minutes and you're playing more direct. He's a player that's better probably than Benzema when it comes to direct play, because he's bigger, he's tall, he's got a big leap on him. But still, I don't think he's going to make a lot of minutes. So I think they will allow him to go. And I'm going to check now, but I think the World Cup, there might be a little bit of overlap, in terms of this season and the Under-20 World Cup, but I'm not sure it's a lot. I mean, to be honest, if I can choose for him to play in a Champions League final or to Under-20 World Cup, it's going to be a hard decision for me as well, to be honest. So, so let's have a look. So it starts at 20 May, and then it ends 11 June. So I'm pretty sure that Madrid. So let's have a look. Okay. Yeah, so Madrid still plays in when the World Cup Under-20 World Cup starts. So that's, I mean, let's see. Jorge, you've brought down the mood, man. No. But if that would be the case, yeah, that would be a mood killer. But no, I'm. Let's not stress about it. We will see what happens, and then we will we will go from there. Jorge says Ignacio Sosa is underrated. I think he's really good. Yeah, what I like about him is, I mean, he's not the strongest or the tallest, but he's quite intelligent. And you could see this when he was dealing with Romelu Lukaku, who is obviously a huge presence for the Inter. So they played against Inter, obviously. And he's intelligent with the way that he moves, and he is brave when it comes to playing out from the back. He will make mistakes because he's not perfect. He's not a, I don't know, Aymeric Laporte, who also makes mistakes, by the way, but he still has to learn. But he is a player with a bravery in his character, in his style of play, and he was also intelligent. And in this way, he reminds me a bit of Godin, who's also intelligent. I mean, they're quite different, but yeah, it's a player that's interesting to follow, and he's certainly someone that at the moment is coming to the forefront, because I think many of us knew of him, but now he's getting a run of games. Yeah, he stands out. Jorge Cepero says, David, would you become a Newcastle supporter if Ugarte and Luciano joined Newcastle? They have a beautiful stadium. Probably I would, yeah. Well, I like Newcastle, to be honest. And I'm going to quickly get the shirt. So I went to Newcastle in the stadium. I think it was 2012. I went to the game and Liverpool played, and this was the game when Jose Enrique, I think or Suarez even, one of these two, went in goal because Newcastle were winning and the goalkeeper was sent off. And this was the season Newcastle had a brilliant season, I think they finished 6th, something like this. So I went to this game in 2012 and I got a shirt. So I'm going to pick it up real quick, okay? So let's have a look. So that we have it. So I mean, 2012. What age was I then? I think 15. So big football fan as I am, and I grew up with one movie I liked the most. Was this movie, and was Goal. The Dream Begins, when Santiago Munez went to Newcastle. So I got this shirt. Munez. They didn't. I mean, the symbol they have normally above the end, they didn't have it. But that's my souvenir from Newcastle. But I can tell you that if Ugarte and Luciano Rodríguez go to Newcastle, or even one of them, I think I have to go again and get a shirt from either one of them. Because, like you say, they have a beautiful stadium, and also their spirits around Newcastle at the moment are big. I mean, they lost the Carabao Cup final on Sunday, but they're going places. So yeah, I probably would, to answer your question. Danny F says, Mateo Ponte can be Uruguay's starting right back. right for the next 10, 12 years if his development goes well. I mean, yeah, first part of the sentence, that could be the case, but the second part of the sentence is probably the most essential because we obviously never know. We never know. That's the thing. You know, some of us, and I did for sure, thought that Chia Pacase would go on to be what Álvaro Rodríguez promises to be now, you know? And yeah, we all know how this went. So you can never predict. But let's hope so, because it would help out the Uruguay national team for sure. The AUF elections were an embarrassment. Journalists said that the AUF is a colony of CONMEBOL. Yeah, I mean, we still have to do a stream completely focusing in on this, Jorge, for sure, because it was an embarrassment. But to be honest, a lot of journalists in Uruguay football are also quite an embarrassment, in a sense that they, I mean, they never seem to get something right. Never. I mean, on this complete saga, how many things you've heard from the manager or about the manager? I mean, about Alonso, about a possible new manager, and it's turned out to be just bullcrap. So I do read it obviously, but I mean, you follow my Twitter, most of you, I would guess. When do I ever post something now of Reveri and Ovation? I sometimes do because of news when it comes to certain player cases when you can be assured, you can be sure. But I used to post a lot more, and also used to post a lot more because I had more time. I have my internship right now. That's also a factor. But I also used to post a lot more because they were much more reliable because they basically were in the pocket of Tavares and the AOF, and they would fed them stories. But at the moment, or the last 12 months, I would say, they are in the dark. They seem to be in the dark. They were in the dark when it came to team news, when Alonso took over, and they are pretty much in the dark when it comes to the current situation. Yeah, that's frustrating for me because you obviously want to be informed, or I want to be informed. Hopefully, Ponte is a star right back. Uruguay desperately needs one. Yeah, would be absolutely brilliant, man. Why do you think Satriano and Alvarez are struggling in Serie A? I know Martinez never starts. I mean, these are two obviously completely different cases because Alvarez, Martinez, he's not getting opportunities. That's the problem. For me, it's the problem. Okay, you could argue he has to do more with his cameo appearances, and maybe you're right, but it's not an easy thing, you know? And I talked about it in the start of the stream when it comes to Joaquin Sosa. Sometimes a player just needs an opportunity, a run of games, you know, not one opportunity, just a couple of games where he proves himself or where he can prove himself, when he has the opportunity to stand out to, yeah. But Alvarez Martinez is not getting this. Satriano, he's starting most of the games for Empoli. And I've watched some games. I didn't watch all games of him. I mean, come on, I have to do something also outside of watching football. But I watched some games, and I mean, technically he's a good footballer. But in front of goal, there are still many things to improve for him. And yeah, it's the reality that he scored one goal in, I think it's 20 games in Italian football this season, which is not good enough. But he's still 21, so I'm not stressing out, you know. But there needs to be an improvement on this side for sure. Deniev says the Facundo Gonzalez and Seba Boselli center back partnership in the Uruguay under 20s reminded me of Godin and Lugano. Yeah, I mean, thinking of it now, yeah, Gonzalez obviously Godin and Boselli Lugano. Yeah, I can see some similarities. Yeah, but they were so good, man. Interesting to see also what happens with Sebastian Boselli now. Facundo Gonzalez is already in Europe for Valencia, but Boselli, let's see, because he was good, really good. So yeah. Okay. Jorge Cepero, goal movies are underrated. I don't care if movie critics didn't like him, especially the first and the second one. No, me neither. I don't care. I mean, I watched this movie countless of times. 1 and 2 were brilliant. 3 was nothing, but yeah, we can forgive him for this because 1 and 2 were one of the best things. Maybe that's a bit much, but we're certainly one of the was certainly one of the best films I've watched in my childhood. So I liked it a lot. Yeah. And still, to be honest, I think I watched it a year ago after not watching it for probably 5-6 years, and I loved every minute of it, to be honest. So yeah. Um, Jorge Cepero says Defensor are really good at producing talent. I think they're underrated. Yeah, I think Defensor, Montevideo Wanderers, how do you say, Danubio as well, but plenty of Boston River. I think that's the thing. There is certainly in these teams there are big opportunities for young players to start to get chances. For Peñarol and Nacional, there's more pressure, obviously, so it's a different environment. But when it comes to these teams, Defensor, Danubio, and these kind of teams, they know that producing talent is so essential to the livelihood of this team or of the club. It provides them with incomes, with probably the only incomes that they need, because if they don't produce talent for like 5 years, they will like notice it so much. Their finances will be in such a worse place, because and there's also, I mean, the fact that this is the case also is one of the most depressing things about Uruguayan football, because it really understates that Uruguayan football is a talent factory for Europe or for Brazil or Mexican football, but that's the reality. We all know this. But yeah, Defensor for sure. We can keep naming these type of players that came from there. There are so many. So yeah, and Boselli is certainly someone who seems to be next in line. Jorge Cepero says, what do you think of Bayern Munich investing in River Plate or Montevideo Wanderers? Do you think they'll care more than City Group? I read this, I think I read this probably 2 days ago. I really don't know what to think about it, man, because you could argue that City Group has done well for Montevideo City Torque, which is now their name, because they are doing better than they did, but it's kind of makes a club soulless. It kind of makes a club soulless, so that's what I don't like about it. And the River Plate, the Montevideo Wanderers, I mean, these are clubs that have to decide for their own, but it's hard for them probably to turn down these kind of investments. What used to be the case is that there were certain clubs that were in agreement, or how do you say, they had a partnership or a relationship where they probably the clubs got first picks when it comes to talents, or maybe when a player comes through at a certain club that for example, let's say Stuttgart and Bayern had a relationship, or maybe better to say Almeria and Barcelona. They had a connection or a relationship, and this would mean that when Almeria got a player coming through, a young player or a star, whatever, then Barcelona got, like, how do you say, first option. These type of things. These are quite normal in football, these relationships between clubs. But this thing of a club basically buying clubs and making a group of football clubs where you can just swap around players which only fit the big club, basically, because obviously these big clubs, they want to keep this going because they can profit from it and also pick off the best talents. It's not a trend or a development which I like to see, which I'm a fan of. What can you do about it? That's the thing. But we are going to find out what will happen. I hope it's not going to be the case, and I hope it's not going to go ahead, but probably will. Nacho says Santiago Bueno is getting a lot of minutes in La Liga this season, and he's doing a great job. He's one of the players I would like to see in the next March matches. Yeah, I mean, that's you are completely right. He's doing well. Girona are doing well as a team, coming up from the Segunda. I think they are now mid-table. They won on the weekend against Athletic Club de Bilbao. Last weekend they won against Almeria 6-2. Stuani scored as well, so they are doing well. And Santiago Bueno, I think he missed one game because of a suspension, but other than that, he has played every minute. And he's 25 years of age now. He's obviously got history as a Uruguay under 20 player, and after this passage, at the Uruguay under 20 team, he went to Barcelona, went into the lower tiers of Spanish football, came back up, fought for his place at Girona, and he's now a starter in a really decent team in Spanish football in La Liga. So I think Bueno has a big opportunity to be on the list, and if he's on the list, he completely deserves it. Yeah, so I mean, I'm completely in agreement with you. I'm not sure if I would call him up because it's a really difficult choice at the moment with Araujo, Coates. Obviously, Jimenez is not there. Rodríguez is basically retired, so there are two open spots at the center back, but there's a lot of competition. But Bueno is certainly one of the names that should be on top of the list to be considered in the March friendlies. Underdog says, off topic, but I love the movie Goal too, bro. I used to love watching it as a kid and even before I liked football. Just saw it again not long ago since you brought it up recently. Yeah, man. Uh, no, I did. I think on my personal Twitter, we obviously follow each other on my personal Twitter, so I brought it up. Yeah, and that movie never gets old. No, I'm gonna show this to my kids for sure, because it's so good, so good. Daniel says, I would like to see Joaquin Sosa and Araujo center back partnership in March. Ooh, that, you know what? That would be quite an interesting partnership. I think they could complement each other quite well. But, Araujo probably being the marksman. So, 1 second, I have to go off. 1 second, I have to open the door. I'm sorry. That's that was. Oh, there we are. I muted myself. Yeah, back there. I had to take on a delivery, so sorry. Okay, but that's an interesting partnership. I would probably go with Coates Araujo because I think Coates. These are the two best options, but probably in one of the games I would like to see some experimenting. Maybe even with Araujo and Coates on the bench and have two new players in the starting lineup. Who knows? Why not? Because it's true that we are missing Josema for the next 4 games, and Godin is out of the picture, as he obviously has not officially, but well, basically announced his retirement from the national team. City Group ruined Nicolas Seri. You could argue, but obviously a player has to take his own responsibility for his own career. So yeah, but and I think he's still 19. So let's wait a little bit. But I know he broke through for Danubio, and he scored a hat trick. I think he was one of the youngest ever players to score a hat trick in professional football. So yeah, let's hope he can rise to prominence again, because he certainly wasn't a prominent member of the Uruguay under 20 team in Colombia last month. So yeah. Jorge says River Plate have been producing attacking talent lately. Arezzo, Borbas, and now La Vega, and also Juan Cruz de los Santos as well. Part of the national team, the under 20 national team. Yeah, no, these names for sure. La Vega is someone who excites me as well. It's a good prospect. And Jorge continues, says, hopefully all three succeed and Arezzo goes back to Europe. It excites me. Borbas is part of Red Bull. I mean, Borbas, he scored on the weekend, 2 goals already over there in for Red Bull Bragantino. Yeah, River for sure is at the moment on the same line as Defensor and Rubio, these type of clubs, in terms of producing talent. Yeah, and like you, I mean, Arezzo is now at Peñarol, and that's good to see. Or I mean, I had some different opinion. I thought he probably should have stayed in Europe, but it's good to see him doing well. That's for sure. But hopefully his medium term, long term future is in Europe, because he's a player that has enough qualities to stand out in European football. Yeah. Okay. Jorge Cepero, what is your opinion on who in your opinion should be Uruguay's captain after Lucho and Cavani? I think it maybe should be Bentancur, because he's an animal on the pitch when playing for Uruguay. His injury sucks. Yeah, I mean, the obvious choice, I think if we talked about this 2 or 3 years ago, the obvious choice would have been Josema. Josema Jimenez he's already played now in 3 World Cups. He's approaching 100 caps for Uruguay. But with Josema, the thing is obviously that the injury struggles remain, or they persist, rather. So that's the thing. And with Valverde and Bentancur for sure coming through big time for Spurs in the recent, last 18 months, these are 2 prominent options. Bentancur, the injury, obviously, like you say, it's a big blow. But who should be the captain? I think my bet probably would be Araujo. I would say that he is the ideal option as captain, Araujo. Just for everything, basically. I mean, he plays he leads by example the way he plays, but even besides his actions, he's a really good communicator. He's really focal on the pitch, and I mean, when I see Araujo play, I just see a leader. I mean, I think we all have this when we see him play. He's colossal. I mean, yeah, he's so dominant, so commanding. So I would probably go with Araujo. Yeah. So, yeah. Nacho says, did you see Matias Arezzo's first matches with Peñarol? He's doing great with 6 goals in 4 matches. And I think it's a great move to relaunch his career. Yeah, I mean, he's had a really good start. And like I mentioned before, I argued that he probably should have stayed in Europe on loan. For example, I think it was, I'm not sure which team, but there was another Segunda team that wanted to take him on loan. But he went to Peñarol. Yeah, and he started off brilliantly, and I hope it can relaunch his career as well. I think we all hope this. That's the main thing we hope. I mean, rather I prefer to stay in Europe, or others prefer to see him in Peñarol. Doesn't matter, but it doesn't really matter. We all have the same goal, and that's to see Arezzo doing well. And at the moment, he's doing well. And like you say, hopefully it's like a how do you say? It's a trampoline back to Europe, and that he can relaunch his career. Liverpool Montevideo have a lot of prospects like Luciano, Fabricio Diaz, Federico Pereira, and Ignacio Rodríguez. Yeah, I didn't mention Liverpool, I think, when I was talking about Uruguayan teams that are doing well in terms of producing talent, but Liverpool certainly belongs there. Yeah, I mean, big time. Absolutely. So, yeah. Last comment, and then we're gonna close it off. Going on for an hour already. It's been really fun, and thanks for all being here, sharing your opinions. That's what it's all about. It's a weekend roundup, but for me, it's basically having a conversation with all of you to talk about anything. So really appreciate that as always. And if you want, please like the video. I would really love it. 10 likes if we can reach it. Once again, just like last week, that would be amazing. Yeah. So if you want, you can leave the like for sure. Danny F says my short-term captain is Coates till the 2024 Copa America, but after that I see Araujo or Bentancur. Coates is a good alternative because he obviously is the captain of Sporting, and I think if I quickly go through it, I think he's probably maybe even the only captain, the only player on the current national team that is also a captain for his club team. Well, Muslera, obviously, okay, but he's the backup goalkeeper. Am I missing someone now here? Pretty sure he's the only one. Espino is vice captain, but he's not there. I'm sorry, he's not even there. But okay, he's vice captain for Cadiz. Damian Suarez is also vice captain because Jene is the big captain, or the how do you say, the main captain. But yeah, it's a good shout. It's a good alternative for sure. Um, so yeah, let's see. And then Jorge says it's really awesome that Ugarte has been getting a lot of attention lately. Yeah, I mean, I think Liverpool fans, Newcastle fans, a lot of them for sure have been noting him, and because obviously they both want signings, Liverpool for sure in midfield. So yeah, it's been good to see that, because yeah, the exposure for Ugarte is really nice to see, because he deserves it as well. And Lisa says thank you, David. Um, no problem. Thank you, by the way, Lisa, and also Jorge, Danny, Nacho. Let's have a look. Underdog, Alejandro. Um, so let's have a look. George, Rodrigo, and even someone else I didn't mention. Thanks for stopping by and having a chat, or maybe just listening. I appreciate it as always, and I'll see you next week on Monday, as we probably will discuss many more brilliant stories about our Warriors. Okay, bye bye.